Thanks for listening to the Bigfoot Society podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's episode comes from impromptu interviews over on the TikTok platform. These are raw and people that literally just stumbled into the chat from all corners of the U.S. and maybe even the world. So enjoy these interviews that probably would not have been heard any other way. We're going to chat about Bigfoot tonight, and if you've had a Bigfoot encounter and you'd like to share it, go ahead and hit the request to come up on stage, and we will chat about it. First, I want to see if anyone can hear me talking through my headphones. I just got back from Oregon. It was a crazy time. There'll be an episode out on my podcast soon, Bigfoot Society, talking all about what happened there. Had some crazy stuff happen, but yeah, we're here to talk about your Bigfoot encounters. Today we got a picture of the big guy right behind me there. Tate, good to see you, bud. Any fun things happen on your trip out to the West Coast?
Nothing crazy happened in Bluff Creek. But I'm pretty excited about the video I'm going to be putting out. Did I tell you how I'm going to do it?
No.
So, Jonathan kind of gave me the inspiration to do it. So, like, before I was, like, doing, like, a lot of videos on YouTube, I made, like, a few short videos, like, about 2 or 3 minutes long. And I, you know, with, like, different apps on your phone, I ran, like, the videos through an 8mm app.
Okay.
So it kind of had, like, that old 8mm film vibe. And then I added Native American flute music, so I used to do those. And then Jonathan was like, dude, you should do like an episode like that. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, so I'm finally doing
Nice, that's cool.
The new Bluff Creek episode is going to be like that.
That's awesome.
But then Ron came up with the idea, is like, dude, do the daylight stuff with the 8mm filter. And then at night, use like the modern technology stuff.
Interesting. I saw you in the Salish Sasquatch episode. I saw a few minutes of that. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was a good time. Jonathan and Sarah Brown.
Yep.
Them folks. Do you know them?
I mean, I've talked to them. I talk to Jonathan every once in a while. I've never met him, but they seem to be all right. So,
how was Oregon?
pretty good. I got to go by the NABC, so hung out with Cliff a little bit, and Nico and Keith were there. Darby Orcutt was there, so that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
So I met him, and I went over to Sisters. I stayed out over there. That was a pretty cool area in by Subtle Lake, and I drove too close to a fire on the way back from Mount Hood to Sisters. That was actually really scary stuff.
I got a question, actually. Do you plan on going out to like the West Coast area more often? Because if you do, I mean, I recommend anybody who lives on the West Coast or visits there frequently, if you guys don't have it, get this app called Watch Duty.
No, that's what I use when I'm out there. Absolutely, yeah. It can literally save your life if you're using it. If you're using it correctly, it can save your life 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
I found out something interesting this trip too.
Oh yeah.
I guess my iPhone can't do it. It's iPhone 14 and older or newer. I mean, but apparently, because in Bluff Creek, you know, you can't really text anywhere except a couple areas, and then at Laos there's no cell service. But apparently, with like the new iPhones, I don't know what all phones do it, but I know iPhones for sure. If you have an updated phone, and it's iPhone 14 or newer, you can actually text via satellite.
Yeah, I have that on mine. It's I have a 16. It's pretty cool.
I need to upgrade my phone just to get that, because that'd be very nice to have in like emergency situations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like I have a Garmin as well, but it is a very nice feature just to have on your iPhone. as like an easy way to send a text and not have to set up the other stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
dude,
pretty sweet.
I was telling Brent Dill when we were out in Bluff Creek, I'm like, dude, it's gonna get to a point when you won't even need to buy like video cameras with infrared built into them. Like it's all gonna be on your phone. Like
Oh
your
yeah,
phone's gonna have
absolutely.
like infrared cameras built into them and film in 4K. It's gonna have so much stuff. That's all you're gonna need to buy is just a phone.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff, dude. How was hanging out with Thomas Steenberg?
That that was cool. I was so yeah. We talked to him. So his first time, I'm gonna mess up the days. I know I'm gonna mess up the years. It was I want to say in '83 with Renee DeHinden.
Okay.
He went to the film site, and then 20 years later in 2004 with Bob Gimlin. That was Bob Gimlin's first time back,
Oh wow.
and then his most likely his final last time was 22 years later in 2025.
Wow.
If I don't have the days right, I know it's definitely for sure 22 years from when he last went, and then when he last went, 20 years. So anybody can do the math on that one. 'Cause
Um,
I forget the actual dates.
that reminded me, I got to go out with some old timers squatching, and I got to go out squatching with MK Davis. That was pretty wild. He's a really funny dude. Um,
What is? Oh my
he's
lord!
funny. He's way funnier than you would think, man.
You,
Yeah.
you know, MK Davis was a topic of conversation at the Laos camp.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he's very polarizing. But I mean, he's a nice dude.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
he's
yeah,
very polarizing.
he
So,
seems cordial and everything, and
oh yeah,
pretty
yeah,
chill.
yeah. So,
Of all people, dang, that's hilarious.
yeah, isn't that random?
But yeah, dude. So I got the new Bluff Creek episode. That's gonna be like that 8 millimeter thing.
Nice.
Um, I got 2 episodes of Bigfoot on display.
Heck yeah.
I got the Oregon one almost done. I'm not sure when I'm releasing that. I think I'm gonna do Bumping Lake first, then the Bluff, then the California Bigfoot on display episode,
Hmm.
then Bluff Creek, and then Cliff Bigfoot on display episode.
That's awesome. Guys, I'm talking to Tate Hieronymus right now. Make sure that you follow his YouTube channel. Just search for Sasquatch, just search for Sabe, and you will easily find it. You can follow his account on here as well, and you'll be able to find it that way too. But yeah,
Well,
good stuff, man. That's good stuff. It was good talking to you.
heck yeah, dude! I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna let you continue on with your show. If
All
you're still
right.
alive, I'll hang out in the chat.
All right. Well, peace.
All right, later.
Later. Hey, Curry, thanks for coming
Hey,
up. Do you mind if I potentially use this audio for my Bigfoot podcast?
not at all.
All right, man. Do you have something to share then? A story you experienced?
So it was at the house I grew up in. Maybe 15 to 20 years ago, I was in high school at the time, and I had friends over. We had like a side add-on to our house where, where the older me and my I was older, so that's where I stayed out there, and I had friends over, and we have a deck connected, and we had been drinking at a friends over, and me and my buddy went out to use the restroom. And we're standing there and we're laughing and we're both facing the same direction and it is dark, so we didn't see color or anything, but we both just look real sharp in one direction, and we see this thing, and it was like huge, maybe close to 7 feet tall, and shaped like a huge man, and it was just staring right at us, completely pitch black next to a tree, and we just kind of like froze, and we were looking at it, and it took one step behind the tree, and it was like it disappeared from existence. It just completely was gone. No noise or anything.
That is very interesting. And you said, what was the year again on that?
This was, and I was in high school, so probably about 2007.
Okay. And are you able to share the general area that was?
Yeah, Central Texas.
Central Texas, totally. Yeah, that is. I mean, Texas is so full of sightings. It's incredible. Wow, 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 wow. So, it sounds like you weren't able to really see any details because of the time of day, right?
Right. It was like a giant dark outline of, but it was huge. It was like a NBA basketball player kind of.
Do you have a certain basketball player in mind when you make that association?
Probably like Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, gotcha. Um,
Like it was
ho-
big, like
yeah.
thick. It was so yeah, big head. Yeah.
Um, must could you tell how wide across it was at all?
I like I said, it was probably 300 pounds. I mean, this was
Okay.
like it would have been like the biggest man you ever seen. And that's what I was running through my head. I was like, I don't think I have any neighbors that are that size. Like, I don't know anyone that size around here. And the weirdest part was that it stepped behind the tree and it was completely gone. It was just
Mm.
vanished.
How big was the tree that it stepped behind?
It was a pretty big tree, probably.
Yeah.
Um, Not, I mean, not too big, but normal sized tree. It was dark, so it was like you would expect it to be on the other side of the tree, like it was walking behind it, but nothing ever came out the side. And we just stared at each other, and it was one of those things where we were scared, but we were just like, "Did you just see that?" And we both looked at each other and we are just like, "Yeah." And then we just were like, we didn't talk about it for a while, and then one night I was like, "Dude, you remember we saw that same thing?" And he was just
Mm.
like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "I will never like, I don't know what we saw, but we saw the same thing."
Wow. What what a fascinating, I mean, just one of those quick accounts. You saw it quick, but then it sticks with you for the rest of your life. And just Curry, thank you so much for coming up and for sharing what you experienced that night.
Absolutely. If you don't see it, you'd think it might not be possible, but it's I've never really seen anything else like that, so it's pretty crazy. Thank you
Absolutely.
for letting me
You
share.
got it, sir. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Good stuff. Curry's the first one to come up. Thank you so much, Curry. Um, let's see. There was a gentleman or an individual, St. Ange. I had a face-to-face encounter just outside the east gate of Yellowstone. Face-to-face. I'm going to go ahead and try to see if this individual can come up to share that. Here we go. Hey there. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Awesome. Do you mind if I potentially use this audio for my Bigfoot podcast?
No, it's all good, brother.
Awesome. Would you be able to share what you experienced in Yellowstone?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. 1979, 12 years old. Vacation with my mother and father. After midnight, we had not. My father had an RV, a small motorhome. They slept in the back. I slept right behind the driver's seat in a couch that folded down to a bed. We were in a private campground just outside the east gate of Yellowstone. And during the day, I had met some kids at the playground there, and they were ended up being really mean and bullying me and whatnot. Even drove by my campsite in the evening while we were having a fire, saying, awful things, just being jerks. So I'm in bed at night, that same night, and I hear this tapping on the outside of the motorhome. And at first I figured it's exactly like the sound of either rain dripping and hitting the side or condensation from the rooftop air conditioner draining and hitting the side of the motorhome. It just sounded like taps. Then after a while, I realized it's not raining and the air is not on. So I don't know what that is. Then that's when those boys came back into my mind. And I was like, I'll bet you they're messing with me. and I'm listening. And after maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes of this tapping, all of a sudden there was a bang, like somebody punched the side of the RV. I thought for sure it's got to be these kids. So I listened. Same thing happened again over about a 2-3 minute period. Third time, same thing again. And I thought, I'm getting angry now because these kids are punching our motorhome. I mean, that's awful and mean. And so I sat up in my bed and I wrapped the drawstring for the curtains around my hand. And I was waiting for the next tap, tap, pound. When the pound came, I was going to yank up that curtain and be able to look down on these 3 boys, them thinking they're cool playing a joke, and I was going to bust them. Sure enough, it happens again. I rip that blind up, and I'm looking down to where these boys should have been, and I don't see anything but dark. It's black out there, and there's a little bit of ambient lighting, but I do not see kids. And so I start to follow this blackness up with my eyes until I get near the top of the window. And I understand this window at the top of the window is about 8 feet off the ground. When I got my eyes up to look out this window, staring back at me was this gigantic face. I mean, the head 3 times bigger than a human, just absolutely enormous. I didn't know what I was looking at first, but I was overcome with fear. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I couldn't talk. I just sat there frozen. And we sat there just looking at each other. To me, it felt like many minutes. In reality, it was probably a grand total of 30 seconds. But I was able to remember details a little bit about the face, and mainly because, I've had people tell me, oh, it was a hoax or you dreamed it or whatever. But I looked at this thing face to face, eye to eye. I mean, I saw his eyes blink. I didn't see any whites in the eyes. They were completely dark, but I saw his eyes blink. I saw the nostrils flare. I saw the lips quiver. This was not a mask. And it looked so human, but it wasn't. Kind of fit in that space that you'd call the uncanny valley. Kind of how it looked, how it seemed. I had no idea what I was looking at. In my mind, I'm looking at a monster. I'm 12. I had never heard of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So I'm sitting there staring back at this thing, and I don't know how or why it happened, but eventually I released the string out of my hand. The shade fell back into place, and I just sat there. I don't know how long, for a very long time. Eventually I laid down and fell asleep. I never told anybody this story. And the reason I never said it to my parents, especially right the day after it happened, was we were on vacation, but my dad was a terrible, violent alcoholic. And if I were to say this story immediately, I would be a liar, and I would just end up taking another beating. So I kept it to myself. And the more time went by, I never told anybody, especially because I didn't know what it was. And then when I was about 16 or so, I saw a rerun of a program, which I'm sure you've heard of or seen. It was a program called In Search Of that used to be on TV. It was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock on Star Trek. And it happened to be an episode on Bigfoot. And the first time like an artist drawing or rendering came up on the screen, all that panic and fear came back to me because there was my monster and I finally had a name for it. And it didn't help me process anything. It actually made it worse because then I learned so many other people, thousands of other people had seen this thing all over the country, all over the world, which made it that much more real to me that for sure it wasn't imagined, it wasn't a hoax, it wasn't a joke, it wasn't me having a nightmare. It was as real as the screen that you're looking at right now. And I sat on that story until about 3 years ago. And I'm getting close to 60 years old. I'll be 59 next January. And I didn't want to take this story to the grave with me. You never know when the end's coming. Every day is a blessing. Every day's borrowed time. So I opened up for the first time ever to a researcher named Miguel, who does the Sasquatch Theory program.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he interviewed me on his podcast. And then immediately after that, he asked me to write it all down, so I did. And then within a few days after that, I ended up sending it to Nancy over at Buckeye Bigfoot. And she read the encounter via email on her program on YouTube, probably, and again, back about 2-3 years ago. Since then, I have met a great gentleman named Val Zavala. He's a researcher, pretty well known in the Bigfoot world. Yeah. Yep. He lives just south of Detroit. I live just north of Detroit. So, and I just happened to run into him one day on Facebook, and we got to talking. And now I've talked to him over the past 2 years, dozens and dozens of times. And matter of fact, Small Town Monsters just put out a new video yesterday about the Monroe, Michigan sighting earlier this year. The father and son bow fishing and had an encounter with a creature like that. Val, he has hundreds and hundreds of records from encounters that he himself has investigated, or people that he knows and trusts have investigated. And I was able to share with Val as well. And the biggest thing that always strikes me is how human this thing was. It wasn't human, but it looked human. If it wasn't for the size and the hair that was on the face, which none around the eyes, not too much on the cheeks or around the mouth. It had dark but not black, leathery skin. And to me, it looked so human. That was the scariest part. I mean, it looked 85% human, 15% ape. That's what it was. And, you know, I've never been able to reconcile what I saw with what the truth is until I started telling my story and really getting into the Bigfoot phenomena all over the web and meeting and talking to new people. But yeah, I mean, that was sincerely such an up-close encounter. I know I was terrified, but I never got the feeling that it was there to hurt me. I felt like, for the most part, it was curious. It wanted to look at me. It wanted to see me for some reason. And it knew exactly how to get me to open that shade. But yeah, it was so human. And that's the part that has stuck with me and been a real source of issue, trying to decide how to place this thing. And, you know, where can I fit this into my life? And it's one of those things where it's like a club. Once you've experienced it, you can't unexperience it. And anybody who's had a sighting will tell you that your entire world flipped upside down. Nothing's ever the same. Because if that is real, what else is real?
Right.
You know, so and that's really, in a nutshell, all there was to that encounter. But it was close. There was nothing separating us except for a single pane of thin RV glass. If that thing wanted me, it could have reached right through that window, grabbed me by the face, and yanked me out that window and taken me into the darkness. Because it was that close, it was that big, and the window would have been like tissue paper for it. But it never did anything like that. It really just seemed curious, although I was terrified. I didn't get the feeling that it was there to hurt me. And in a nutshell, that's basically the story of what happened.
It's absolutely fascinating because it was just what you said, 6 inches away.
Yeah, because he was right up, almost his nose on the window. And he was so big that, like I said, the top of that window sits about 8 feet off the ground. And he had to kind of hunch down a little bit to be able to look in the window. So he was better than 8 feet. And the head, this window was probably a 4x2 window or so. This thing's head took up at least 3/4 of that window. It was like bigger than a medicine ball. It was gigantic. And the rest of it was so big and so massive, I couldn't even make out any other details about its body or anything else because it was nothing but fur and face in the window, or hair and face in the window. And of course, when you're in a position like that where you're terrified, it's really hard to recall things because your defense mechanism is to try and forget it and try and debunk it and tell yourself it didn't happen. But it did happen. And I know I've had people say that they don't believe the story, and that's okay. They have the right to that. But I know what the truth is. I know what my truth is, and that's all that matters.
Wow, what a fascinating account. Thank you for sharing. Is it something where you would ever want to have a sighting like that again, or stay away from it?
No, I have a very strong desire to have another encounter. Maybe not that close, but over the past few months, maybe the past 8 months even, I've been looking for somebody who's a field researcher that would like to bring on somebody else who's, an experienced outdoorsman. I'm a trained scientist. I taught science in a public school for 30 years. I know the scientific method. I'm very detail oriented. And I think I would be an asset to anybody who is out in the field researching. And that's what I would like to do. But man, I'll tell you, people are very skeptical about wanting to take somebody new into their circle, and I'm not 100% sure why, but I've had people tell me that a lot of people are worried that, if they should happen to be the one that finds the evidence that takes Bigfoot out of the cryptid realm and puts it in the scientific realm, that they wouldn't want to, a lot of people wouldn't want to share that spotlight with anyone else. And that's not what I'm about. I don't even care. I just need to.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally get that. Wow. What an encounter. Thank you so much for coming up and for sharing, a friend. I appreciate you coming up tonight.
Not a problem. It helps me to tell the story. So that's why I don't mind telling it.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll be in touch in the future, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, man. You too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Always good to hear about my friend Miguel. He was mentioned there in that. Okay, we got a few people wanting to come up. Let's see what Patricia is wanting to share here. Hey, Patricia, how's it going?
Hey, I'm so glad I found you.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you found the show too. Are you coming up to share something tonight?
I just want to tell whoever, I'm sorry I didn't catch his name, who was speaking. That's fascinating. He had a really wonderful story. That was really good. I mean, because he's, when you really hear that in somebody's voice, he's not lying about what he saw.
Absolutely.
Now, I think you guys are the experts. And so I moved to Minnesota. I live in northern Minnesota, 30 miles from the Canadian border. And I've been going live at night. I'm a Native American from Arizona, and it didn't even hit me at first. I asked the DNR. It didn't even hit me about Bigfoot. I don't know why. But I was, at night, I'm an artist, and I'm sitting on my third floor of my house painting, but I can hear the tree knocking and the rocks hitting up and down the river because I live on the river.
Oh, wow.
And so I took and I recorded it, and I had the DNR and some people listen to it, and they and other people, and I'm like, please tell me what it is, because and it really, I swear to you, at the time it just wasn't hitting me. I don't know why. And then all of a sudden someone said to me, hey, hello, do you not know you're in Bigfoot country? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I just moved up here. I wasn't. I guess Reamer, Minnesota is like the Bigfoot capital here.
You're up there by Reamer?
Yes, I am like 30,
that's
40
it.
minutes
That's it.
from
Yeah.
Reamer, and I had no idea. So that's why I'm happy to have your opinion and other people who are experts, because I'm not. And I've been going live and on my own on my own page, and at night, and I've asked people, can you please tell me what it is? And so the other night I decided to do the test. Someone told me, and I did the knocking, and I got the knocking, and I got the knocking back.
Wow. Oh, man.
And then I also have some pictures that I'd be willing to give anybody that wanted to tell me what they are. And it was when the snow started to melt, and the screen fell through in my kitchen window. and it's like it's really stiff. You have to push on it, and I'm here on the river, remote. I mean, come on. And it fell in and knocked all my stuff down. And the next day I went out and looked, all the grass was down. And then I took pictures, and you can see these huge feet and these huge toes, and they're aimed towards my kitchen window. And so I was like, oh my gosh, was he just sitting there looking at, was he watching? Was one of them watching me? Because I am so remote that, and I have some outdoors lights, but not many. And so I don't know, but I'm glad to meet you, and I would welcome anybody and to tell me what this is, because now I've watched a bunch of videos and all the top experts, and the knocking that I hear is loud, if not louder, and it goes, and we just had a rodeo, and it was really strange because and I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much time, but the knocking did not happen. And all the people were up here.
Okay.
I live in Big Fork, and the people, there's so many people up here camping up in the woods, and I didn't hear it, but everybody left. And guess what? Last night the knocking started again.
Yep.
So
I mean, you're in the right area for sure.
I have a question. It's really strange because I don't know much about this. The knocking starts usually I don't know if I can hear it right now when it gets dark. And as the sun's gonna rise, because I'm an artist and I'm about hours, then it dissipates. As that sun's rising, they stop.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's you've heard that before or not.
I mean, time of day doesn't really matter a lot. I mean, you'll probably get weirder stuff around 3 to 4, but is there a pattern, or how many do you usually hear together for knocks?
I really would love it. I live in a 125-year-old schoolhouse, and I would love to have somebody. I thought about building a deck on the 3rd floor so people could come and walk through the woods and tell, I have a strange story, and no one's gonna believe this, but I decided the other day to go follow the knocking because the sun was going down and I could hear it. It was dark, and it was strange. I was walking and I followed it all the way, and right where I stopped the knocking, I looked down and there was a rock. And I thought, that looks like petrified wood or a bone. And I thought, I'm a jeweler also by trade. And I thought, I'll take it home and polish it up and I'll see what it is. And as God is my witness, I'm willing to post it and show anybody. But I got it home and I polished it up, and it feels like marble or bone. And it has, I couldn't believe it. There is a 50 stamped into the stone, the stamp 50. And I there is no way in this forest that I would have ever picked up that stone, and I would have come to that spot. And I don't know what led me or why they led me there to find that piece of stone, because it's only the size of a 50-cent piece. So it's not like it's something huge or it stood out, but I can't explain it. And also, I'd like to ask people if you have ever known or heard that there's always crows around with Bigfoot. I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned that or heard of that.
So I can address that. A lot of people will say that they will do sometimes they'll mimic nature sounds, especially owls. You'll hear very loud owl sounds. People will say the 800-pound owl, and at the end of the owl call, it won't sound like a real owl. It'll sound like it messed up. You might experience that. You might experience something that sounds like fake language coming from the woods. You might start to see things left around your house, or just very weird things might start to happen.
One of the things that I do also have video of, and that is there are pink lights and glowing lights that I saw, especially in the forest when you could see, and there was not so many leaves. And there's not a reflection off the glass because I took some video off my deck out on the river, and there's nothing across the river from me. And so I had these floating lights. They were bright pink orby lights, and I taped that in the winter. And that was way before I ever, thought about anything and saw the footprint or started hearing the knocking down the river. So I don't know what connection that is either, but it could be them and energy and all of that.
So it sounds like you have already lights or orbs showing up on your property then.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I
Oh boy.
do. And you know, and so when I saw Raymer, I was like, oh my gosh! I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm not crazy. Then like your other guest said, I'm not crazy. I'm not
Right.
crazy.
Right.
And especially when I did the knocking, and I should charge my phone and go live later, because when I would knock with the wood up here, you would get the knocking back, and it would be from
Uh-huh.
different areas of the forest up and down the river, and sometimes it might not even be the same amount of knocks, but it would be the same rhythm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Like
it absolutely
fast.
does. Yeah, you'll start to see
Yeah.
that or hear that. I would say start keeping a journal
Uh
of
huh. I
everything
am.
weird. Good, good. That's going to be very important in to keep
Yeah.
everything straight.
Well.
It sounds like a fascinating area, and you're really starting to
Mhm.
experience some weird stuff. So I'm glad that you're cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Somebody's asking what is the knocking, and is that just? Do you feel that's just communication? That's their communication.
Yeah, so most people feel that when you have these knocks, it's a way of maybe communicating or signaling that, hey, she's at the house now or something's going on. Sometimes you'll hear knocks around you, so it could be like triangulating the area. There's a lot of it's we're not we're not sure, but that's what we've tried to figure out because I mean we haven't actually been able to ask, right, a Bigfoot, hey, what does this mean? But that's the best that we can come up with of what the
I
knocking
don't.
means.
I
So,
don't know if anybody's up really late, but when I would say it's 9:49 here, but I would say in about an hour I could even go live, and if people maybe
okay.
an hour or two. And I would love if anybody's interested, please let me know, because it's not about follows. I just really want to know what because you can hear it for yourself. And
Absolutely. I know that's fascinating. I'm glad you're doing that. Do you mind if I share this conversation we are having on my Bigfoot podcast that I have?
oh no, no, I love it. And
Awesome.
I followed you, and I will look up your podcast, and I would love to. We all just need to share, because people can talk about it all they want, and then they see some freaky TV shows and they make it look
Hmm.
stupid
Right.
sometimes. But it's not
Exactly.
when you're really hearing it, and you really, because like at night you can hear big frogs, and I can hear other things up and down the river. I know the sounds because I'm really in touch with nature and things like that. But like I said, I've questioned all the people that have been up here. This is a small town of 500 people,
Hmm.
and what's really strange. And I just want to say one more thing, and then maybe someone else wants to share.
Sure.
But I went and went every time I asked people about it up here. I got a really weird look when I asked about the
Exactly.
knocking, and it's like all the people that are lived up here their whole life, they didn't even answer me. They just gave me a look, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not supposed to be asking that question. But I just wanted to know,
It's because they
you
all
know.
know. They
And
don't
then
want
the
to talk
other
about it.
night, we didn't know what it was on my live, and we heard something up in my tree, and I wish somebody, I'll have to share your live with some people on mine. And we heard something so big, it was up in the tree, and I can't tell you what animal, or it could have been anything, but we could hear the knocking. But then all of a sudden, you could hear something came out of the tree, and it was so dark you couldn't see it. But then all of a sudden, you could hear it chasing down something in the water, but it didn't sound like it was like a cat, because it didn't have, it sounds like four legs. But you could hear it going down the river, chasing something down the river. And I was like, everybody goes, go in the house, go in the house. And I was like, I
Go in the
am.
house. Yeah, right, right. Oh, that's wild. Holy mackerel. Do you mind if I say what your TikTok username is on this
Oh
so
no,
people
no,
can
no,
look you
you can
up?
do whatever. No, 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 I'm transparent, so you can do
Okay.
whatever.
It looks like it's Patricia Carson 5. Is that correct?
Yep, 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 yep.
Okay. Cool. So
But
people can look that up on TikTok if they want to follow you and check out your lives
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're
I mean,
sharing what's going on. So cool.
yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I'll let
All
anybody
right.
else come up. But thank you so much, and I'm so happy I found you. You guys, happy hunting.
You got it. Have a good night, man.
You too. Bye bye.
Wow, good stuff. Up there in Minnesota, Chris is wanting to come up. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Hey man, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. Did you have something to share today?
Yeah, I posted in the comments
Oh,
Where
awesome. Awesome. Do you
I
mind if
live.
before we get going, do you mind if I potentially use this for my Bigfoot podcast I have?
Sure you can. Because
Cool.
I
All
just
right.
started following you. So
Oh,
uh,
perfect.
I live in Texas, but I live on the Gulf Coast down by the Galveston area. But we had about 150 acres up in northeast Texas that was close to the Arkansas border of Texas and Arkansas in
Okay.
Dangerfield, Texas. And we used to deer hunt up there about 10 years ago. And we used to check our game cameras and we saw something on there black, but it wasn't on all fours. It was standing up. And then we checked another camera and we saw it again. And then one morning we was in our deer stand and I heard moving around, and I thought, man, maybe it's a wild hog or a deer. I'm just gonna try to be quiet, but I heard knocking, and I'm like, man, what the heck is that? I thought it was a buddy of mine that was messing with me because there used to be a show on called Bigfoot. I can't remember, Monster Quest,
Okay. Yep.
and they showed our area that we deer hunted in. I'm like, man, that's right there where we turn off. But we heard a yell, and it scared me. Now I'm setting up in my deer blind with a high powered deer rifle, and it scared me enough where I waited till daylight came, and I came down out of my tree stand, and I got on my side by side, and I went back to the camp because it's that yeah. But where I really want to say this is I have a cousin. He was special forces, and they trained in northwest Washington State. And they had a sergeant or captain that told them, says, guys, we're out here training, night training. You're going to see things. They do exist. Just don't shoot. Just, wow. I was looking at it like, man, and I never told anybody because it's like, hey, you ever seen a ghost?
Right.
People look at you like, well, you're crazy. So I never told nothing, but me and my buddy, we talked about that. He says, man, I don't want to go back up there and hunt no more because there's something up there that I'm scared of. And I'm like, well, we even left our freaking pull behind trailer up there abandoned because we weren't going to go back. Because the local sheriff's department was like, hey, man, because it was a small town. We'd come into town to eat and all that and buy beer and all that. But he was like, hey, have y'all seen that thing out there? They never would say what it was. He said, hey, y'all be careful out there because the sheriff's department knew we were out there because there was nobody else that lived out there. But he was like, hey, there's something out there. We don't know what it is. And I was like, man, y'all just messing with us because we're from the Gulf Coast and y'all are deep up here in deep East Texas. And when we heard that scream that night, it scared me, and I haven't never went back. But I am following you. I'm going to hang up so you can answer other people's calls.
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so first off, thank you for sharing what you experienced. Was that near like a certain any of the forests down there? Because deep east gets really crazy with Bigfoot in
All
Texas.
right. Do you ever remember the that movie that came out in the 70s, Boggy Creek?
Yep.
All right. So we're like probably 50 minutes from Folk, Arkansas,
Okay.
where all that took place. And I think what's his name that has the TV show on the Discovery Channel, they did a segment on it. And we drove over one day just to talk to the locals there in that little town, Folk. And they say, hey, y'all hear that scream? We don't know. We didn't want to look stupid. We just showed up as little small town tourists. But you can look up the town. It's Dangerfield, Texas. It's northeast Texas, and there's no telling what's in those woods up there. We've seen bears,
Oh yeah.
bears,
Yep.
but there was something that
some local told us, oh, it's probably one of those panthers. I'm like, nah. We've checked all our game cameras. We haven't seen nothing like that. We've seen wild hogs, and then we've seen something that we ain't never seen before, and it pretty much scared us. And my buddy that I hunted with, he was a Marine Corps sniper, so if it scared him, then it's definitely gonna scare me. So, but
wow, that's wild. Yeah, that whole area is just absolutely crazy. But Chris, thank you so much for coming up and for sharing what you experienced. And wow, I don't blame you being a little freaked out, but that's wild stuff. But yeah, thank you for coming up, man.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Thanks for listening to the Bigfoot Society podcast. The things you heard today are intense, unscripted, and from all corners of the world. Hope you enjoyed, and if you have your own story to share, please reach out to me. Email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Your story might be the one that is able to help someone else work through their traumatic events that they've experienced as a part of this subject. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you're following the show there and leave us a 5-star positive review, as it does help other people find us through the algorithm. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there, and see you in the woods.